Welcome everyone to the Tonkin Legal Group, home of the Australian Family Law Podcast. Definitely not the official podcast of the AFL. It is I, as always, Joe, and I'm joined only by St.John. No Charlie today. How are you, St.John?
I'm really well, Joe. I'm missing Charlie, but he'll be back in action sooner rather than later. So we wish him a steady recovery from whatever's
Absolutely.
ailing him today. What about you, Joe? How was your weekend?
Oh, maybe what's ailing him potentially could be the repercussions, I suppose, of over celebrating a wonderful stirring victory on Monday against the Pies. But
Yes.
no. Well, I won't go there. Congratulations. Yeah, mine was pretty good. Mine was a pretty good, nice long weekend. Celebrated an 18th for my cousin, and then met
Oh,
up
nice.
and was introduced for the first time to a 3-month-old who is the son of my cousin, which I
Oh,
have gone to look up, and apparently he is my first cousin once removed. That's
and that's where you get me lost. So that when you start saying once, twice removed, I'm out of there. No, I've never been able to understand that. But what a round of footy, mate.
it was insane. And you're
Unbelievable.
lucky your team had nothing to do with it. You had the week off.
Well, one thing that we were guaranteed this week is we weren't going to lose. So the Tigers get away unscathed on the bye weekend. But look, the Bombers were good. I don't know what happened to 47 seconds, but at the end of the day, very frustrating for you guys.
Yeah, it was definitely. You would have obviously seen in our text message. I was ropeable that night, but fair to say I have calmed down a little bit. I have to remind myself, Harry Van Hatten, Harry Van Hatten, number one pick. So
Number one, yeah, he's going to be worth it. What, 200 and something centimeters?
yeah,
He's good around his feet. He's good above his head. He's massive. Yeah, worth hanging on. I just hopefully you beat us next time round, if so that we can have him. But look, I can't believe some of the results. I know my wife miraculously picked all 8 winners this weekend. Now, whether that was fluke or sheer skill is another issue, but at the end of the day, she can crow about that. And congratulations to her for doing that. I just can't believe some of the upsets. Uh, let's go through them. So we had Freo and was it Freo and North?
yeah, that wasn't an upset.
No, that wasn't an upset at all. But what an avalanche
It was
of
a
goals!
surprise. Correct.
Yeah. So you go into these games thinking one way, don't you? You think, oh, it might be competitive. North, you know, they can get up on the certain day, and then it's just an unpredictable result.
Correct.
Unpredictable. 130 odd points or 120 odd points.
The
What
biggest
was
in
the
Fremantle history. The biggest.
exactly? Well, who would have? I mean, you wouldn't have thought that would happen. I wouldn't have put money on that. But there it is. It's in the record books.
Correct. And Carlton thought they'd probably have a nice little percentage booster against us on Sunday night. But
Yeah.
lo and behold, we were with them basically all the way to the last second of the game. So, as you say, you might walk in thinking it's going to be competitive, ends up being a blowout. You might go into a game thinking it's going to be a blowout, ends up being competitive. And I guess the moral of the story there is don't go in with any preconceived notions about what it is that you're about to experience. You got to go in with an open mind, with your eyes wide open. And in
Mm.
the case of a family law matter, that very much applies as well, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. So um, the footy this weekend or last weekend shows you that you can't really guarantee anything, and you can't have any preconceived ideas about how your family law matter is going to end up. It really is a difficult jurisdiction to predict for clients what a result's going to look like, whether it be parenting or property. As family lawyers, we can generally only give a range because it's like pinning the tail on the donkey sometimes. You have 10 judges who might give you 10 different results. Now, that's not their fault, but every case needs to be decided on its merits. Every case has its own merits and is peculiar to itself. And judging how a result is going to end up is a really difficult one. I mean, obviously
Correct.
the court has some guidance, but being a discretionary jurisdiction, a lot of it is left up to the judge's discretion. So we do rely on the what some would say is the 5-step process, but the 4-step process, Joe, that the judges have to go through, which is, can you remind our listeners what the 4-step process roughly looks like?
Of course. So first step being, what is the asset pool that is present for division at that time? Secondly, the contributions, how they got to this point. Thirdly, the future needs factors as well. So who needs the money more moving forward? And fourthly, determining whether or not, all things considered, that is a just and equitable split. Now, each one of these steps is set out in the Family Law Act, which is the governing legislation, and it even sets out what you are to consider, among other things, in terms of the future needs. But what it doesn't have, it tells you what to consider, but it doesn't tell you how much weight you are to give each one of those considerations. And that is where the discretion comes in. That's where it sort of becomes a mixture of science and art, where there is a process, but there is some liberty and discretion, as you say, for judges to apply that discretion. So it's you can't go in with any preconceived notion. You can go in with an idea, roughly what sort of range it is that you're looking to aim for. But in terms of a definitive final answer, that day in court is certainly not in your control.
No, and I think that's what some people forget about, and that is if you do go off to court, you put the outcome in the hands of a third party, being the court, and you lose control of your outcome. So losing control of your outcome is not always a pleasant situation to be in, as North Melbourne found themselves against Freo last week. But look, as experienced family law practitioners, we know roughly what the ranges are, and we know roughly what a parenting matter is likely to settle on or at. But as for A equals B, therefore the result is C, there's no formula. It's really in the lap of the gods with the judges. And I mean, the judges are extremely experienced family law practitioners, most of them. And they bring with them a wealth of experience, but there's still some unpredictability with results. So if the decision is to head off to court, well, then you need to understand the risk and the unpredictability of that process.
Correct. And you can think of it in a way, for example, in a game, you might think you're on top, your team is winning and doing really well, but all of a sudden you cop a really important, an injury to a really important player, which all of a sudden turns momentum in a different way. And part, I guess you could say that, along the way, as you're going through your matter, you might end up, if it's, for example, a parenting matter that we're talking about, and the child impact report comes out that isn't so glowing, for example, in a particular parent's favor. That does, of course, then swing the momentum one parent's way, and you then the person who is affected will have to navigate it. So there are various banana peels, so to speak, that can appear in a family law matter. And that's why it's really important, I suppose, that, as you mentioned, St.John, that you do have a family law practitioner, someone who is familiar with this space, because you never really know where those difficulties can arise. Obviously, on a football field, these freak accidents can happen at any point in time without any foreshadowing. But in a family law matter, it's a bit more, you're definitely in a lot more control in terms of being able to brace yourself and maybe maneuver away if things don't work out well, if you have the right advice.
And to be strategically positioned to maneuver through the system, because it is a system and it's an unpleasant system to be a part of from a client's point of view. But we can certainly assist in that regard and guard against the 135-point wallopings that some teams have suffered, including mine in more recent times. But yeah, look, I've had clients who have thought that their contributions and their future needs would warrant them retaining all of the matrimonial assets. That's only happened in one of the cases I've ever been involved in, and there were some particular circumstances that warranted that outcome. And other times people might say, well, look, I need to have the child full time. Those absolute cases where everybody gets all the assets or everybody gets all the time with the child or children, extremely rare. So there has to be some pretty special circumstances to warrant a percentage outcome, say above 70 major financial contributions, 12 kids, all under the age of 10. Those sort of factors, they have to be that particular and that outside of the norm to warrant an outcome that's outside a more mid-range point.
Exactly. And you can't just simply come in and say, but my friend went through their property settlement, for example, and they
Correct.
got 70%. Well, you can liken it, for example, to, Melbourne versus Collingwood yesterday on King's birthday. Melbourne beat Collingwood, but when Essendon played Melbourne in Adelaide a gather round, Essendon won. So does that, but, so, it's not necessarily the matchup wasn't quite the same.
No, exactly. So the facts are different in every case. Every person is their own person. Their children are their own children. No two cases are ever alike. There are similar cases, but no two cases are ever alike. And if you run the gauntlet through the process, through the court process, then you run the risk of not being happy with the outcome or being shocked by the outcome. But as family lawyers, we need to prepare our clients for that process, and we need to be able to say, here are the parameters of your settlement, and it may be in your best interest to negotiate within those parameters to get the matter resolved swiftly rather than having a 1 to 2 year court battle.
Speaking of shocking outcomes, is there any chance that we could shock Melbourne this week?
Oh, look, in Charlie's absence, every chance. Every chance. Are you playing back in Adelaide again? Or?
I wish. No, it's MCG. So,
Joe,
no.
I think not.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not going in with any preconceived ideas. Anything could happen.
Correct.
And we just need to monitor who's in, who's out. Maybe Melbourne are feeling a little cocky. I don't know. Maybe you get them at a good time. I don't know. But all I can say is that this season's been pretty close, apart from your front runners who are a little ahead.
Yes.
And us blokes down the bottom.
Doing the heavy lifting of the ladder.
Yeah. We've got the weight of the world on our shoulders. That sort of, probably 15th up to 3rd is technically everyone's open. So it's going to make for an interesting top 10. We hit a Brisbane who's been on the receiving end of a couple of losses. So, but I think it's in Melbourne, which might make it about a goal difference. Instead of 12 goals. They beat
the Suns last week, though, so maybe they've just turned and found their form at the right time.
Oh, that's right. They did too. No, I'm sorry. I thought it was the other way around, that game. But I don't fancy our chances. But anything could happen. We might have a few returning. Even our captain might be close to returning with a 12-week hamstring, which doesn't bode well for the future. But so looking forward to watching the yellow and black again. But probably not watching another 4-point win.
No preconceived notions even about the duration of hamstrings these days, apparently. 12 months is a little bit ridiculous. But
no, you can't. You can't.
And that does us for today. Thank you all so much for listening or watching, depending on which platform you're on. If you enjoyed what you had to see or hear from us today, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to not miss out on any of the videos and episodes that we pump out every single week. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, please rate us 5 stars. All of these things are very simple and easy to do, but go a long way towards increasing our reach so that we can continue to talk more about family law and reach the far corners of our wonderful society. Thank you, St.John, as always, for your time.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. And let's hope Charlie will be back with a vengeance next week.
But also with some tears because we beat them.
Yes. Have we got the bet running again? You need to wear his outfit and he needs to wear yours, depending on who loses. Yeah.
I'm all like I said last time. I'm more than happy to wear a Melbourne scarf, and my heart beats true. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next
See you,
one.
Joe. See you guys.